Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight, the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock that I've really been loving, one that I want to recommend to you guys that I think you'll really enjoy if you have similar tastes in music as me. And what I really love about doing this is getting to spotlight lesser-known bands and artists that I think deserve a bigger platform, that deserve to be heard by more people. And this is one of those cases, a lesser-known band that I think should be much bigger in the prog space. This is Versa and their new album, A Voyage, A Destination, Part 2. This is a Canadian progressive / post-rock group. Fantastic. They've had 4 albums up to this point. Their previous album was 2022's A Voyage, A Destination, which was actually the first part of this kind of duology of albums. They were meant to be kind of a collection together, somewhat of a double album perhaps, but they needed a bit more time to work on this second half, and so they're releasing it a couple years later here in 2024. And the 2022 album, A Voyage, A Destination, had quite a slew of notable progressive rock artists guesting on it. You had Jim Gray from Caligula's Horse, Nick DiVirgilio from Big Big Train and Spock's Beard, Lars Frederick Frosley from Wobbler, Mariana Simkina from I Am the Morning, Eric Gillette was on there as well. So just a great smattering of guests in all these bands that I absolutely adore and love. So it really sparked my attention when I saw some of these big names. And this album is no exception. It also has some really interesting, fascinating guests on it from the prog space. We have Ross Jennings from Haken, Sam Vallon from Caligula's Horse. We have Michael True from Moonletters and Kelly Nordstrom from E-Molecule and Sound of Contact. So another smattering of really notable guests that all do fabulously well on the album. So it's a really interesting mixture of music because it's not just your straightforward symphonic prog like what I tend to listen to. They really add this kind of post-rock, ambient type style and sound. It's very soothing and very classical sounding, in fact. Just there's a lot of violin and trumpet and these kind of orchestral arrangements and soundscapes that really take you to another world and are really emotionally driven. And that's what they focus on. There's not a whole lot of high-octane, like, proggy workouts and crazy sections of, like, Dream Theater-esque instrumental wankery. This is more just laid-back, soothing music to enjoy and to let soak in and let the emotion wash over you as you listen to these beautiful, haunting melodies and arrangements. It's just a really beautiful listen that really brings a unique flavor into prog that I think is well needed and doesn't just follow in line with all of the other classic prog artists that are making music today. The lineup here that we have for this record is Matthew Dolmage, who plays flute, electric and acoustic guitar, lead and backing vocals, additional piano, bass guitar. So a versatile musician who's very important to the soundscape and creating all that you hear throughout the record. We've also got Jesse Bell on drums, bass guitar and electric guitar, and Hollis Longton on violin and backing vocals. That's the main trio who's making this music. And then, of course, as I mentioned, there's a ton of different additional personnel playing on this record. Quite a few interesting guests on the big, expansive epic Artemis. Towards the end, we've got Dennis Atlas playing a synth solo. We've got Julia Dolmage doing some lead vocals and an AI voice in the track. We've got Kelly Nordstrom, as mentioned, Michael True from Moonletters, Sam Vallon from Caligula's Horse, people that I've mentioned already. Also throughout the album, we've got Steph Boutet on piano, Ryan Cole on trumpet, Claire Coupland on backing vocals, Colin McTaggart playing some guitar on Flew the Coop, as well as Ross Jennings lead vocal on Flew the Coop. Eric Gillette plays some additional guitar on the record. We've got Nelson Salahub on a trombone as well. I think I've mentioned all of these musicians. I just want to mention everyone because they all do such a fantastic job. I want to make sure that they get a shout out in this review that I've put together. So, but yeah, it's a fantastic record that has really grown on me as I've continued to listen to it. And I'll admit that at first I was worried that it was a bit sleepy, a bit slow. It didn't really grab me immediately off the bat because I do tend to like more high octane, more rocking style progressive rock with lots of big guitars and drums and, really cool, catchy choruses and, all of these facets that you find in all of the melodic prog bands that I tend to enjoy. But as I continued to listen to it, it really opened itself up to me. These really beautiful, soothing sounds, these atmospheric textures, the piano melodies that continue to repeat throughout the pieces. And at the end, you do get kind of that fireworks, big prog epic in Artemis, which brings a lot of these elements together, but adds a lot of new firepower to the makes that makes it one of the best premier progressive epics of the year. So just to go through the tracks a little bit and what you can expect as you go through this journey on this album. The prelude is a soft, gentle piano and atmospheric textures that delicately lead you into the album. Breaking and entering gives you a sublime, soothing, fluid guitar melody on top of some lovely piano with these accents of violin. Later adding horns to the makes as well. Feels a bit timeless, as the whole album kind of does, with some real classical influence. And I do get a bit of a big train vibe, especially with the addition of these extra instruments like the horns and violin. I think that's something that Big Train does expertly well. And that gives a more upbeat feel to the second half of this as some drums enter the fray, giving it a bit of a livelier feel. The seething bay gives you a bit of almost an unsettling feeling because there's some dissonance in the piano melodies being played, but there's some great texture and atmosphere swelling behind this main piano melody. Once again, very atmospheric and ambient that gets a little bit more intense as the drums enter and the strings get more intense. Very beautiful and otherworldly, with a little bit of an undercurrent of uncertainty and darkness in the music, at least from my ears. Flew the Coop is a totally dreamy sound with beautiful violin work. You get that beautiful Ross Jennings vocal. This is the first time you really hear vocals on the record, and his voice just fits like a glove with this really pleasant, dreamy soundscape. I love the combination of repeated piano figures and swelling strings and a fluid guitar solo over the top of it. Just a beautiful track. They did a video of this one as kind of a single for the release, and so I really recommend you check out the video because it's really well made. And this is a highlight of the record. And I'm always happy to hear Ross Jennings perform on any work. So it's just a real pleasure to hear his voice come into the mix here. Lake of Luxury gives some beautiful classical sounding piano, some clever beats behind it, and a solid violin lead. There's a section with a standout horn taking the lead and a bit of folky flavor in the violin work. Bury Me at Sea gives us another vocal-led track with beautiful acoustic guitars backing up the vocals. Some violin followed by horns get added into this musical landscape to bring an added sweetness into this music. It's just really sweet and heartfelt. You can tell that this is meaningful music to the group. Lake of Dreams gives a repeating guitar figure and a bit of a mystical vibe. Vocals also get added to this track, and there's a bit of a build-up here in intensity with some light distorted guitars, very brief, but we get a bit of that in this track that I think gives a nice new texture and flavor to the record, where it's been pretty pleasant and laid back up to this point. Oceans of Storms gives some more pleasant piano playing, leading to some sweetly played guitar and violin work over top, very soothing and ambient, repeating the same figure over and over, giving it a bit of like a meditative feel. Mari Lamatorum is a piano-focused interlude with strings, adding a added layer of beauty and wonder to the piece, leading us into Artemis, which is kind of the big centerpiece towards the end of the record. Beginning with this really cool choral piece of music that kind of reminds of like Moon Safari arrangements, just really well done vocals that I just absolutely love that. I love these kind of cool vocal harmonies and arrangements. It's one of my favorite elements in music, and of course Moon Safari are one of my favorite groups of all time, so to hear maybe a bit of a nod to one of my favorite groups is definitely a delight and a pleasure. We get guitar and violin coming in, trading off lines, leading to a big opening build-up. There's a nice laid-back sung section here, but then we get into some pretty proggy playing here with some heavier guitar stabs, some faster playing from the keyboards and different things, some over-the-top flute playing and some cool folky violin soloing. Definitely some of the most proggy moments on the whole record. We get a killer proggy synth solo, which is just absolutely fire, really fun to listen to. And you also get kind of the standard sweet instrumental sections that focus more on violin and that trumpet trombone style sound. So you get a bit of all of it, and you get a folky section with some male and female vocals and strummed acoustic guitars with flutes. Really cool atmospheric moments with floating harmony vocals and piano melodies. Just really cool soundscape throughout the piece, and a lot of variety and a lot of mixture between kind of the overtly proggy sections, some folky feeling, some of that classical vibes still coming into the mix, and those added vocal harmonies just brings this whole piece together and makes it maybe the most singularly biggest prog track that the band has ever conceived and put together. And as a big prog fan, that's definitely right up my alley and very well appreciated. And this whole track just put a giant smile on my face. And then we get the final track, Destination, which kind of puts a bow on the whole project. Starts with simple piano playing a beautiful melody before the vocals come in, and we get lovely strings added, a triumphant solo horn. The play out of all these beautiful elements together is just majestic and soothing. And the music pulls back for a second before we get that final reprise of the main theme, backed by some angelic choir and that final piano melody playing out in a beautiful fashion. It's just a great ending to this whole project. You know, it kind of closes not only this album, but the Part 1 album that came out a couple years ago as well, as this kind of epic conclusion to this double album. And it's just a beautiful note to end on. Just the right notes are hit. It's soothing and meditative, but also majestic and powerful at the same time. And it showcases the best of the band once again, that they're able to pull together these disparate influences, this more post-rock ambient style, but bringing in a prog edge to make it a bit more exciting and interesting. I just really love what the band does here. Like I said, it was a grower for me. At first, I was worried it was a bit too laid back and sleepy. But as I continue to listen to it, the sumptuous melodies and gorgeous tones just really grabbed my heart and really made me continue wanting to listen to it. And I think this is well needed. You know, not everything needs to be super heavy and rocking and, you know, have a million distorted guitars and crazy synth solos and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's nice to just have something you can put on in the background that's soothing and beautiful and just strikes your ear with melody after melody that washes over you, and that has just beautiful emotions on full display. I just think it's a beautiful record, and the band wildly succeeds here, and I hope they continue going and making this style of music. And it really showcases a unique spot for them in the genre. Like I said, no one else sounds like this, really. You know, you can point to different influences, to Big Big Train, as I mentioned, to Moon Safari and how they added some of that choral work, to Neil Morse and some of his influence and how he builds epic tracks as well. But no one does this kind of ambient post-rock style with the progressive rock spice on top of it that I think they're doing. I think it's very unique and something that they need to continue to craft and just put out there, because we need more of it in this landscape. And so congratulations to the band. I think it's a fantastic work of art, and it just uncovers itself more and more as I continue to live with it. And it's one of those records that's just going to be a special one. And I really recommend it to everyone listening, that you guys should check it out. No matter what your leanings are in the world of prog, I think there's something for everyone here, and it's just a beautiful record. So thank you guys so much for joining me. Hopefully you appreciated this review, and I'll definitely be back with more reviews in the near future. So thank you guys, and keep enjoying the music out there. Bye, everybody.